Hi, welcome to Pink Lion Podcast. In this week's episode, I have a guest with me today. Her name is Caitlin. And I met Caitlin through, of course, social media, where I meet everybody, apparently. No, it's just because they have interesting stories, I swear to you. Uh, Caitlin joined me in one of my TikTok lives, and we've been really getting close. So much so that she and others encouraged me to start teaching intuitive workshops. Now she's one of my students, but she has an interesting backstory, and I wanted to bring her up to discuss her story with all of you. From intuitive awakening to astral experiences, profound loss, and stepping into mediumship. So, Caitlin, your story reminds us like this isn't something reserved for a few. It's something that unfolds when we're open to listening. Tell us your story.
Yes. Oh, man, I don't know where to start. Where would you like me to start?
Well, what were you like before all of this started? Were you always sensitive or did this come on suddenly? Did you
So,
ignore it?
I
Did you push?
I would say I was definitely sensitive as a child, I just didn't know, I wasn't aware. So
Mhm.
it definitely started when I was younger, the at nighttime was crazy for me. I would see so many shadows and things in the night, and it would just I was always scared, but my grandparents always chopped it up to, "Oh, there's nothing there, your eyes are just playing tricks on you." And ignore it, just go to sleep, so I always kind of ignored it. And I was raised Southern Baptist, so like we were always like followed a certain way. So anything spiritual was not, you didn't talk about it. It was religious, God, the Bible, this way, this way, this way. You didn't expand outside of that. Um, so I guess my core beliefs were with the Southern Baptist, but I always had this wonder, I guess you could say. Like, I always just, to me, a lot of things didn't make sense. The things we were taught didn't make sense to me. So I always knew, kind of in the back of my mind, there was something more. And then throughout my life, as each loss happened, more and more things would start appearing to me. Like I lost my parents young, and I would have these dreams about my mom, or I don't even know if they're really dreams or not, but I would call them dream, or I would go to my siblings and say, "Hey, do y'all remember this time?" Blah blah blah, and they're like, "Caitlin, quit making up memories. Like, that didn't happen." And they were always great memories. Like, there were memories of us, like, holding hands around a magnolia tree and praying we would all be together again and things like that. They were great memories, but my siblings always told me, "That's not real. You must have dreamt that." And I was like, "There's no way I dreamt that because it was so real." Knowing what I know now, I feel like those dreams I had were visitations, of course, and that's why they felt so real. And then fast forward a few years, I had my brother had passed away. It was about 2017, and um he so let me back up some. I'm sorry. So I always had this weird, like, my grandfather died in 2008, and I had this weird premonition. I knew he had passed away, and I told my older sister, I was like, "Lauren, I think that granddaddy died." And she was like, "No, he didn't. Don't say that. That's not true. That didn't happen. He's fine. He's fine." And I was like, "Okay," but and I remember I held a picture of him that night and I cried. And mind you, I'm 12 years old at the time. So, but I just knew, or I might have been older than 12. Either way, I was young, and I just knew something was different. And sure enough, the next morning, our aunt sat us down and let us know that our granddaddy had passed away. A little part of me wanted to go to my sister and be like, "I told you so," but I didn't, just for the sake of the situation. And then a few years later, to when my brother passed away in 2017, he actually had went missing for a couple days, and we were out looking for him and stuff like that, and I remember looking over to my same sister, and I said, "Lauren," I said, "Do you remember when granddaddy died?" And I just had that feeling that he had passed away. I was like, "I think Brandon passed away too." And so she got so mad at me, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna start keeping all this to myself because it's not pleasing people." And sure enough, 2 days later, actually, the day I told her that, they found him. I forget, he was missing for 2 days, but the day I told her that, it wasn't an hour later, they had told us that they had found him. And After that,
Mm.
that's when a lot of things heightened. I would say I thought my brother was like, at my house. It just felt like he was hanging on my back all the time. I didn't wanna go outside by myself. I didn't wanna be alone. It just always felt like he was right there on me. And I remember one night I was sitting there in my house and I was crying and this is after services and everything. And I was like watching the video that they play. And I'm like sitting there just sobbing. And I was just like, I just had my head in the ground in my living room by myself. And I felt someone touch my shoulder. I thought I was going crazy, girl. I lost it. I got in my car and it was like 2 a.m. And I get in my car and I'm driving around town. I'm just going in a circle. So I ended up getting pulled over and, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, are you okay? Are you have you been drinking or anything?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, "You're not gonna believe me, but I think my house is haunted by my dead brother," you know? And I laugh about it now just because I know what it is now, you know what I mean? But after that, I started having what I called night terrors, and it was like these out of body experiences when I would go to sleep, and it would be, my environment. Let's say if I was used this example, if I had a pink towel on the door in real life, when I would go to sleep that night,
Mhm.
I would have these out of body experiences, but I thought they were night terrors. It's like I would stand up beside my bed, that pink towel would still be there. So, like, let's say the next night I had a yellow one, it would be a yellow one the next day. So, whatever my environment was, it was the exact same. And it was always very puzzling to me because I couldn't understand how in these dreams or these nightmares I was having, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
environment was the exact same. It was like I wasn't dreaming and I could never explain it. And so that went on for a while and there were dreams. Sometimes there were visitations from him and sometimes they might have been something from childhood trauma, but he would be involved in it. And it got to where it would start that I was, like, lifting up out of my house, and, I would eventually it'd erupt in chaos, like, something insane would happen, and I would just jerk up out of my sleep, and, like I said, I thought I was crazy, so I actually think I went into the doctor and told them, and they're like, "Oh, well, you have PTSD," and so they start handing me all these medications and things like that. And it was so crazy to me because I went through this childhood and this life where I didn't wanna feel all this sadness and all this trauma, and I thought these medicines would help. But these medicines made it where I couldn't feel anything. So there was no sadness, there was no, depression, none of that, but there was no happiness or joy or laughter. You couldn't feel anything, And so I started realizing maybe feeling isn't that bad. Maybe I just need to learn how to transform how I feel into not a negative thing. But again, I didn't. I quit taking the medication, but I just never felt whole, if that makes sense. It was like there was just something, I don't know how to explain it, but something I was supposed to do that I could never do, if that even makes sense. And so just, I am just
Well, you
lollygagging around life. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
it just seems like you feel like you have this calling, but you don't know what it is, right? It's like you feel connected to something, but you have no idea what that thing is. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, exactly. And because also I was raised Southern Baptist, so I was not informed that there were other things in the world, and I always wondered what is the point to just live this good life and then one day you die and that's the end. Like, yes, you go to heaven, but there's just no I I don't know how to explain it. There's just no way that that's it, that that's all there is. You just go to heaven and you're just there and that's it. You know what I mean? I couldn't understand it. Of
Just
course,
means it hold on just a second. Let me try to pull this in a little bit because I'm feeling like what you're trying to explain is that in your own feelings, in your own self, like you felt not connected to any one particular thing. The religious
yes.
aspect of it didn't quite make sense because there was no purpose to it other than to be obedient, right?
Yes,
And then
exactly.
it sounds like what you're saying is you were trying to listen to your own intuition, but other people were kind of suppressing those thoughts because they didn't it's not a belief that they could the spiritual aspect of it was not a belief that they could kind of put their weight behind, so that they tried to
Yes.
dismiss and get you off of that. But here's the truth. The truth is, from everything that you've said, this isn't to me any different than how people are receiving information themselves. Okay. So what
Mhm.
I've noticed is a pattern. And even in my own self, in my own journey, there was a pattern, right? Like I was Catholic. I grew up Catholic, and I had a hard time understanding how this loving God, this unconditionally loving God, could punish you for your sins.
When
um
some of those sins are a product of your childhood, that's
but
not your
well,
fault. You know what I mean?
not even that, it's just that isn't that how we learn, is by maybe doing some wrong things or doing things, incorrectly or what have you, we learn to self-correct or what have you, and so it just never kinda squared in my brain, so I started seeing it as more of a kind of like a business, where they would collect money from people and then they decided how to distribute it, which is fine. But I don't know, I just started seeing this very corrupt side of it, and I kind of got turned off. So there's that. But I always believed in God. I always felt this connection
Yes.
to some higher power. I just didn't feel it in the church. Okay. So I hear that's kind of what you're saying too. A lot of people are like this. So there's like this
Yeah.
number one thing right there. Then the number 2 thing is feeling and sensing spirit, which of course you did. You
Mhm.
obviously astral traveled, so there was these dreams and vivid dreams and astral traveling that was also like a confusing experience, but there's number 3 right there. And then like the 4th thing is like you have all these like different dots. So the fourth thing is these like connections after people in your life have passed, and you start feeling or sensing them like on your physical body or like be right behind you or like guiding you and leading you, but you don't have words for it, right? You just
Right.
these feelings. And so what I'm trying to do with my community is so that you're not indifferent from anyone else. And so I'm just trying to teach you how to connect the dots so
And,
that
you know, at
you see the pretty picture that you've been creating your whole life that you just haven't been able to put together.
yes, and, you know, back then, there was no TikTok, there was, I think, MySpace at the time, you know what I mean? There was not all these things
Right.
that could get the information out. There was no knowledge to everyone about, you know, spirituality, mediums, things like that. That knowledge was not available to the public. I think soon later, the Long Island Medium came out, you know, but that was it. There was no other knowledge about any of it, so you didn't know what anything was going on, you know?
Well,
And
you
then
just don't know what you don't know either.
exactly.
I had no idea where to turn because I didn't believe in any of this stuff before
Mhm.
it started happening to me or I became aware. My awareness is what I came into.
Yeah.
But I'll say it for the layman to say, before it started happening to me because I was like, "What the hell is this? Why can I hear my father-in-law in my head? Am I going crazy? What's going on with me?" And I just wanted to ask you, when did you start knowing that you could actually speak to spirit yourself? How did you discover?
So, I would say, you know, in 2025, my twin died. And again, I knew for about 2 months this time she was gonna die, and I would call her, "But you okay? You okay?" She'd always assure me she was fine, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she'd joke, "You're not psychic," and I'm like, "I know, but I just, you know." So, but when she died, things really started to heighten. Like, my night terrors turned into, like, well, what I did was I reached out there's, you know, an app called Keen where you can talk to mediums and stuff like that, and I reached out, to try to communicate with my sister, which I already felt like I could hear her in my head. I just wasn't sure because it sounded like my own inner monologue, so it was hard I didn't understand, but it always everything that I would hear or tell myself was in her tone or like the way she would say it. You know what I mean? So I started getting a little curious about that, and then, you know, my astral projection, I was talking to a guy named Richard. on keen. He's so amazing. He explained to me that my night terrors were not actual night terrors; they were astral projection. So I learned about that, and then I got into your class.
Mm.
And I will say I did that reading for Ashley, and the very first time I did a reading, I pulled a little bit, but I still didn't understand what I was doing. And you did not tell us that first class, like, okay, you're pulling a spirit. You did not say anything about mediumship. You were all, it was intuitive workshop. So you didn't actually, you just told us, oh, good information. That's great. They can relate to that. But you did not tell us we were pulling spirits. So I wasn't sure yet. You know what I mean? I didn't even think I was doing that yet. I had begun, like, messaging psychics on my phone, asking them if I had abilities, and some would say yes, and things like that, but I didn't believe it until we did that reading with Ashley, and, she has a cousin. Is it okay that I talk about her cousin?
I mean, as long as you don't give too much information. Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
well, she's been
Well,
kind of talking about it herself as well, so it's already public information.
okay, well, she had a cousin that had passed away at a young age, and I had felt her spirit come in, and I remember I'd gotten cold that night, and I'd, like, got my blanket, I'm pretty sure. And, I was reading for her, and I thought it was a bunch of mumble jumble until I got to the part where I thought I was trying to figure out how she passed away. So I felt this belt around my waist. I thought it was a seat belt, so I thought she was trying to tell me she was in a car wreck. Turns out she was actually in a wheelchair that had a belt around her waist. And so that, I will say, was like my first aha moment. That was like, "Oh my gosh, it's really spirit," because I could physically feel it, I could hear it, I think that time, it was like a knowing. I don't know if I was seeing stuff at that point. I think it was more like the knowing and the hearing, and then I did have a little bit of the feeling. But yeah, that was my first aha moment. And then I would say each class, each practice where I started getting things right, it's like, oh my word, I really am talking to dead people.
Yeah. Well, and when I started the intuitive workshop, I was doing it at your guys' request, and it
Mhm.
never well, one, I was thinking, first of all, we're all students all the time, whether we never
Yeah.
stop developing and growing as mediums. And so I kind of considered that when I started getting people saying, you should teach, you should teach, you should teach. And I'm going, I don't know that I have the experience to do that yet. I felt like this is sacred work, and like I know that we all have the ability, okay, but everybody's at different levels. Some people are going to
Mhm.
be Bryant playing basketball, and other people are going to be like me playing basketball. It's not
Yeah.
a good situation, right? It doesn't mean we're not all capable. It just means we have different levels of ability. I was thinking to myself, like, well, I'll just do an intuitive one and kind of go beyond like the pens that I like have you guys lives, like to try your own intuition, to tap into your feelings, emotions, and different things to sense them and how they feel in your body when you experience them. So I thought I could do that. I'll start there. But what I learned pretty quickly with all of you because, like, by the second class, I learned that you guys were reading energy, and I was like, "Well, let's just see what they can do because I'm not gonna know unless I put them to the test and see." And
So
I did
you
not
didn't
plan.
originally plan it to be mediumship.
No, I had not. No,
Okay.
did not. I did not. I was
Okay.
being humble because I was thinking I wasn't worthy.
Yeah.
Spirit said, just like pushing me out there on that TikTok when I did not want to do that. And they were like, get out there, bitch.
Yeah.
Pushed me out there. And because right before I hit that button to go live, I was so scared. And I was thinking, this isn't me. I don't want to be doing this. But they were like, it's time. So
Yeah.
they sent me somebody, and I knew that he was responsible for his own passing, and I felt like, God, if I was the mom, like, I would wanna know, and sure enough, she was the 3rd person in my room that night, and
Wow.
she needed to hear from him, and so I remember that, and I think to myself, there are some things that I just need to trust on and surrender and just go with it. So when I chose to go ahead and open myself up to teaching, I thought to myself, while I may not be 100% fully ready, you guys are perfectly aware of that. I made you aware. I was always honest about it. And in the meantime, I had no idea what the hell I was going where it was going to go. I didn't know where this would lead. And so I
Right.
just did. I just was like, let me just try opening that up their own intuition and tap into that a little bit more. Maybe we'll work a little psychically. I had no idea spirit was going to come barreling in on all of you.
Yeah, a lot so fast.
And so I thought, well, we're just going to roll with it because this is where they want me to go. So I'm like, I got to trust it. Um,
Yeah.
and it's been great. It's been really great to see you all develop in the way that you have, not even knowing that none of you knew that you could do this. Yet
Right.
one of you are doing, I mean, last night's workshop was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And to see all of you unfold the evidence and build the story, and everybody could take, somebody could take it, every single,
Right, there was nobody that was out there, yeah.
yeah. And it just felt like, I don't know, this is what we're all supposed to be doing. So I feel like you're a big part of that, and like watching you kind of develop. And I think that, I think it's a good thing, but the one thing that I can't actually do that you can, astral travel. I can't do that. I like fall asleep, or like I feel my body like vibrating, and like there's something going on, but I can't quite get out of this body unless I'm meditating.
Are you trying? You know how you're always telling us to surrender? It's like that. Don't try to detach. It'll just happen.
So here's
If you
what happened.
have it
Second time I tried, I literally woke up at the very end of the meditation. I was
man,
really knocked out. So I was like, I got into such a deep relaxation stage or step. What am I saying? Relaxative or
relaxation
what?
or no, such a deep I don't know.
I sorry everybody listening to this. I got such a relaxive state that I just fell asleep completely. I like knocked out. So I will try it again. Um,
Well,
you got my
I will tell you that I'm sorry, every time I have done an astral experience, I have fallen asleep. So it's like you have to actually be asleep because you have to think. You can't be awake and separate, if that makes sense. It's like a weird, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. I did do that exact meditation last night, though, for research for me and you. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to tell you because I've always done it without meditation 90% of the time on accident. So I was like, let me try this meditation to see why it didn't work for her. And so I did like the whole thing. And at first I was like, "Oh, wow, this is really gonna work." I even like do you feel your body go like this? Like, it's, like, going side to side?
I didn't feel that, but what I felt was like it felt like the soul wanted to it was like doing this inside of me. Um,
Yeah, yes.
but I didn't feel this side to side motion. I felt like this vibrating thing
Up and down.
inside of me up and down. And that was cool. Like I liked that, but I couldn't get past it. And when I tried to just fall asleep, like I didn't remember anything. So
Yeah, that's what happened to me when I tried to do the meditation last night. I could get to the where this, and I was like, "Oh, man, this is crazy." Because usually even when I astral travel without it, that's what I feel when I'm trying to go to sleep is I'm like it feels like your equilibrium's off or something, and you're just, like, swaying a little bit. And that's usually how I know it's gonna happen that night. So I thought when I was doing that meditation last night, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so cool because 'cause I'm awake kinda." And I wanted to see what it was like, but I also could not get past that part when she started counting down. Like, she starts going 10 or 5, 4, whatever. It was nothing.
nothing.
So I don't know if it's just the meditation is
I'll try
you
another.
know what I mean?
I'm gonna
Yeah, we
try
might need to try other ones.
and kind of and just sort of explore it. And I'm not gonna give up on it because I've done hypnosis. I've done meditation, visualizations. Like I'm open to everything and I really want to do it, but not in a restrictive way. I'm just more curious.
Right.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm totally gonna keep going with it, but
So when I do it too, when like I said, I kind of fall asleep. Now, what's crazy about it is I won't be asleep, but Kaden will say I'm asleep for like a minute or two. I'm not in this deep hour-long sleep. I just fell asleep. I don't even remember going to sleep. It's almost like I'm still awake, but I'm not. But when I start to feel myself like rise up out of my body, what I do, forgot who taught me this. I learned this years ago, but I would put my or no, I think Richard taught me this. Somebody taught me to put your hand up over your face to see if it's happening, because you can feel the difference in your hand lying there, but you can see a hand, but it's just a shadow. You can see a hand in front of your face, even though I don't know if our soul actually has hands, but in astral travel, it does. So you're just a shadow. Pretty. You know how can you see spirits, or did you see spirits when you were a kid and they were just like the gray shadows? It's like
yeah,
that. That's what your hand is like.
that's not what I saw. I didn't see shadows like
Oh,
that. I actually saw few times. I mean, sometimes I would catch something out of the side of my eye, but I would actually see the apparitions or apparitions, however you want to say it, inside. So when I think it was like 11 or 12, I wrote this in the book, right? This is how I opened the book, is talking about this particular period of time because I remember we had a bunk bed on one wall and then my bed came out like so it formed an L. And my bed,
mhm.
how I positioned my head was against the bunk bed and then on the foot side is the closet. So the closet door was open and our dresser, as I shared the
The
room with,
closet door is the worst thing.
closet door is open and some woman in this flow, it felt like looked like she was underwater, just this white light energy just floating, just watching me. And I was like,
Wow.
what in the hell is that?
Yeah.
Because you don't have language. I wasn't fearful of her, but it did scare me a little bit. Just because again, we don't
Scary but curious. Yeah.
I wasn't fearful, but it was just like, what is that? So of course, hiding underneath the blanket is totally gonna protect you in that moment if anything
Yeah.
was gonna happen, but that's what my 12-year-old mind did, was just throw
Right.
the stuff over my head and just went back to sleep. So that was one where I actually saw somebody and I did not know her visually.
Yeah. That is that so I never actually started seeing them like that till after my sister passed away. I saw, my mama on the side of the bed fixing her hair, but mind you, before saw her, I heard "excuse me" in my left ear, which was very odd. I had heard "excuse me," and I was like, I was in and out of sleep when it happened. All my experience most of the time are in and out of sleep. I hear "excuse me," and I was like, "What is that?" And I kind of doze back off, and then I open my eyes, and she's standing over by the window. Now there's 2 or 3 people behind her, but I know they're people, but I can't really see what they're doing or what they look like. They're just like you said, with the whitish kinda like a thin smoke cloud or something. But she was standing there just combing her hair, just fixing her hair like she would, just like this, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then another night, I saw a man sitting at the foot of my bed. He was like just this big old guy with white hair, white beard, and I've seen him a couple times. I think that's a spirit guide. I've named him,
Mm,
but I'm not sure. But he was the first one I ever saw like in definition like that, and I remember that, like you said, you're not scared, but you don't know who it is. So I think that's a spirit guide. I'm not sure, you know what I mean? But that one felt like a spirit guide for sure, just hanging out, just making sure I was okay while I slept.
totally. I mean, they're always with us. So my understanding is that we have a guide or a few that are
Yeah.
one specifically that's with us our entire lives here. And then we have a team of light or spirit team. And those are our ancestors and loved ones who crossed. And I mean, some people say there's like archangels and angels. I have not experienced that myself. I
I have seen Archangel Michael before in one of my astral travels because I also request him whenever I start to travel for protection.
mm,
And he brought me one time, but it was crazy. It was very cliche. He was all gold. Like, I mean, everything about him was gold. But he brought me to the spirit world to meet my whole family. My whole family was there, and there was like other people there waiting for their loved ones. And I remember I stood up on the stage and I was like, "Thank you, Archangel Michael. Thank you, guys." And I was like, "I hope y'all's loved ones come soon." You know what I mean? And then I went back into my body. It was the craziest thing.
that's
But
interesting. So I've experienced Yeshua or Jesus in meditation, deep
wow.
hypnosis. But like, here's the other thing about that. It's love. It's just all love, and we're all part.
Mhm.
That's something I know to be fact, meaning that God is love, Jesus is love, we are all love. Like, it's just all about love. So, like, every time we connect to with the pink line, what is he always telling us? The answer to it all is love
Love, yes.
every
Yeah.
single time. And it's just like, and then other family members are saying these things too, and they always want what's best for us, right?
Yes.
So what I try
That's another with what you just said. I'm sorry to interrupt you. What you just said is why I cannot wrap my head around people who say that this is witchcraft or demonic work or things like that, because these are all messages of love and healing. It's not to hurt anyone. You
well,
know what I
that's
mean?
just gonna say without going there, but basically we have two responses, and I always try to teach this, right? Fear, you can react in fear or react in love. And so
Mhm.
this is one of those lessons I'm personally learning right now is how to respond in a loving like frequency versus
Yes.
reacting in fear. And so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
React in fear, but we tend to do that. Even in grief, you can respond in love through grief versus a lot of people
Mhm.
reacting to grief through fear. But the church tends to make you fear things, fear the wrath of God,
You have
fear,
to fear in order to get the love, which
but
doesn't.
fear doesn't exist there, not as we know it. And so it makes zero sense to us why they calculate these things and connect them into bad. Like the spirit world is, I've not known it to be anything but love. And
Right, exactly.
it is still hard for me to even understand dark, I don't know, energy because I mean, while I'm sure it exists, I do think it's a mirror or a creation of your own mind. That's what I think. That's
Yeah.
my take on it because often in this life will have mirrors right back at us. I mean, even this moment in politics, what's going on in the world is a big mirror and the reflection of like half the country and the other half
Yeah.
is like rejecting it. And so it's like these are mere moments, you know, of how we
Right.
often see back at ourselves the worst of us or the
Right.
best of us sometimes. So it just depends on the attitude. Okay. I wanted I wanted to ask you about your twin.
Okay.
How you said that she was after she passed, you kind of became more aware of your gifts. Tell me about her role in your spiritual journey or your mediumship or any of this right now. Like, how did she play a part in all of it?
So I think what's crazy is the day that she passed away. Now, mind you, I had these premonitions for 2 months, but the day she passed away, I kept seeing the numbers 999 everywhere. It was insane. I'm talking, there was like this pickup truck that had 999 on the back of it coming out of our dirt road. And I remember seeing it and thinking, 999 was that? Oh, the butterfly. There's a butterfly right here. That's Taylor and a butterfly. I'm just saying. Anyway, so that's so crazy. Oh, so what happened was I didn't think much of it that day. I remembered it. I saw it somewhere else, like on the sign or on my odometer, somewhere else. I saw it a few times that day. But also, so the night that she had passed away, she had sent me messages. My daughter had my phone. She came and showed there were pictures. She came and showed me, and I was like, okay. I said, that's fine. Just stay in bed. I'll text Taylor back in the morning. It's fine. Well, it was about 12 o'clock, and Caden had went to sleep with a Dr. Pepper in his lap, in his hand. I don't know why, whatever. He just fell asleep with it on his lap. He spilled it on the bed, okay, which caused me to get up because now we needed a new blanket.
Yeah.
So when I went in there to get to my kids' room, because I have the blankets in the closet in there, I was like, I need to check on Taylor. Then I started thinking, why is Heather sending me pictures of my last child's birth at 10 o'clock at night? That's weird. I need to check on her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I get my phone from my daughter, and I see she had sent me this message that said, "You are golden." Now, my sister would give me compliments all the time. She'd say weird stuff like that. To anyone else, that would not be weird. But to me, when I saw "You were golden," my heart just, I mean, I hate to say it, but my heart sank to my butt. Okay. Like I just felt
What does
it
that
drop.
what does that mean to you and Taylor? Your father.
Nothing, nothing. That's the thing. It doesn't mean anything. But for some reason, I just, it scared me. I needed to make sure she was okay. It don't mean shit. Excuse me, but it doesn't mean anything. But so I go to call her and she doesn't answer. And at this point it's 12:30. So then I'm calling my aunt. I was like, she doesn't answer. So I text her. I was like, I don't mean to wake you up in the middle of the night, but will you please go check on Taylor? I'm just traumatized from burning. I want to make sure she's okay. And sure enough, they had like just found her, literally. So yeah, so you have to think this random thing happens to wake me up in the middle of the night, and make me go in there, make me freak out about her message, and she had passed. So that was kind of another thing I started wondering. And then also with her passing, just me being in such disbelief and shock that she was gone, I just I knew there was no way she could be. And I don't know how to explain that because everyone else that had passed in my life, they were dead and I didn't like it. I couldn't understand why they were, but for her, I knew she wasn't gone. I don't, like I said, I don't know if it was my shock or me not wanting to believe it, but I was like, there's no way she's gone. So I started talking to mediums. I started trying to, and then they say, I start hearing her and stuff like that. And then they say, I hear my name in my ear. And then, she starts put me I think the first live I commented on yours was talking to you about how do you find the right mentor. I don't know if you remember that, but that is my first conversation I had on your live. And for some reason, I felt like Taylor was telling me say something that, get on it because I don't like to comment on lives either, but or anything like that. I feel like she's like, you need to try to do something. We can talk to each other all the time. So I just start researching and stuff, but it always feels like she's pushing me. And in my astral experiences, it started being all about her, which is when they switched from like these night terrors to like her. And I remember there's this one time I go up to the astral world and she's up there and she's not talking, but she's smiling at me and it's like telepathy. I know exactly what she's saying. She knows exactly what I'm saying to her, but we're not physically speaking. And we're going down a hallway with all these people. And what she's doing is she's teaching me. She's like, put your hands on this person's shoulders. You can feel if their energy is connected to you. You can feel their energy. So she's teaching me. And this is before I knew anything. I had ever done a class with you or anything, I'm pretty sure. And we're going down this hallway and she's just teaching me what it feels like to feel different energies. So the whole time she's teaching me and I'm totally oblivious to it. I just think I'm talking to my sister and it's so cool. Until we do the meditation, my soul purpose meditation or whatever, remember?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and for everyone else, we're in the middle of this meditation and I'm totally confused because I don't think what's happening is even what is supposed to be. But I'm like, someone is lifting me up. And it feels like kind of when I'm doing my astral travels, like I'm being lifted up. And, we keep going and we find out that the person lifting me up and holding me, and then that is this light and stuff, is actually Taylor the whole time.
Yeah.
So then I think it was like so much more apparent. Like, even though I always thought she was like on my spirit team or always thought she was helping me, I definitely knew then she was helping me. And then also there was like at her service, for example, there was these two butterflies, or there'd be a butterfly and a dragonfly. And it was always like other people would point that out and it would be like my mom and her. And it just got to where always these two butterflies were always around me,
Mhm.
and then I'd be at work and I'd find a feather here and then a feather there. And it'd always be the most random spots. And it just all these things, all these signs just came in. And then that time I was on my way home from work and I was crying into the car for her and this song had came on and Just something about basically, "We're not angry at you, you're the greatest thing we've lost." And I'm, like, crying, I'm like, "What is this song? Why is it playing?" "Why are you doing this to me?" And I'm just crying, and I get into my driveway, and I turn off the car, and I'm, like, wiping my face, getting it together because, I got kids, and I don't want them to see me. And I look up in my windshield, and I kid you not, for everyone else who don't know, I did send Cindy a picture. It looked like someone had took their finger in, like, the fog on the windshield and wrote "Tay" on it. And then
Mhm.
come to find out that exact song that I was crying to, when her best friend had died a couple months before, she had made a TikTok, and I had already I ended up making a TikTok too, but still did not know this. But I found out that she used that exact same song for her best friend that had passed away and made a TikTok, which is the same thing I had did. Yeah, and I didn't even know it until I went looking at her TikTok one day.
That's so
Yes.
cool.
So she's just always been here pushing me or letting me know I'm on the right track. I'm doing what every time I get doubtful, I'll look at the clock and it's 2:22. You know what I mean? It's like she's just always there pushing me. And I know it's her. It's
Yeah,
just
you feel it. But the truth is that when you are connected, we are connected as people and we have this love connection here. It expands. Like love
mhm,
expands anyway. There's no restrictive anything with love. It just
right.
continues to open up and expand. And when we pass, die, whatever, I like to call it a transition because I don't
Yes.
feel like we're transforming into a different form of energy, right? Like our whole bodies are energy now, and then we transform into another thing. I don't feel like and it's just energy, just like water evaporates. You don't really see the evaporation
Or
process.
sound. Like,
Right.
yeah.
So it's like these things where I feel like we are transforming. Energy transforms or transfers. It doesn't just delete or like dis
Right.
so in that transformation, there's still love. And so if there's love, you can have that connection. And it's not like you're crazy and making these things up. Like, yeah, could there be a feather on the ground? But of course there could be.
At a
Could
battery plant?
be lights
Probably
going by.
not.
But it has to be in addition to you sensing or suddenly them coming into your awareness. As mediums, you understand that subtle thing that happens, that subtle shift of awareness. And so when that happens, you can connect these things and create a communication through the language of love, truly.
Right. Yes, yes, for
So
sure.
I think that that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
um, do you have any advice for the listeners? Like if they're struggling with loved ones trying to control what they're feeling inside their own body, and it conflicts with what they believe or their family believes, anything like that, or perhaps just connecting with their loved ones or any experiences that you've had that you want to give them advice on, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I definitely just, like you always teach us, just trust. Trust yourself over everything. Trust spirit. Trust what you feel, what you think, what you know. Um, Also, and if you have those people, like, let's be honest, I have a lot of people in my life who don't wanna hear it and don't listen. I don't talk to them about it. I don't care. I don't want their negativity even shining on. It's not my job to convince them what I know or what I think or what I feel. And it's if you can learn to accept the fact that you don't have to answer to anyone else, at the end of when you lay your head down at night, if you feel okay with you, that's all that matters. Don't worry about what anyone feels 'cause that negativity is gonna stop your process. If you really wanna connect with your loved ones and stuff like that, trust you, ignore the outside world, and just do what you feel is right 100% of the time.
That's great. That's great advice. That any day of the week, right?
Yeah.
There've been some questionable things that people are like, "Where did you hear that?" Or "Why do you feel that way?" I'm like, "Me. I feel that way. I trust me.
And no one told me that. That's just what I think. That's what I know.
I trust myself. I'm not trusting anybody else. I'm getting it from
Exactly.
um well, if anyone wants to reach out and ask you more questions or continue the conversation, they can reach you at
On TikTok at Kate Hill. Just CAITHILL.
Perfect. And of course, if anyone wants to, if you're experiencing any of these things and are confused and want to reach out, have a conversation, you can always email me at csmuckmediumship@gmail.com or at Pink Lion Mediumship on any of the socials. Well, I would say Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And go watch her TikToks. They're really good.
They're
Just
just
promoting. Take her class, do it all.
they're just readings basically, because with trying to help you guys run a business, I just don't have time to like do videos. Plus, I'm just simply I don't feel like I'm that creative. But uh also I just hate hearing myself talk.
Me too. Me too.
But I will post the readings because I think that they're valuable for the people that want them and get them on the lives, and they want to be able to like view it back. I find that mediums aren't great about doing that. And I feel like I want to do that for people. So
And I think what's amazing is sometimes when you're doing a reading, the way it can also mean something to other people and be similar to their situations as well. So
yeah,
it's like little postcards from your loved ones, even though it's not your reading. So it's nice to get that connection no matter how small it is, you know?
right, exactly. And some people will be like, "Nope, that was supposed to be for me," and I'm like, "Whatever you feel." I'm
Yeah.
putting a you know a stamp on it, so it's totally
Yeah,
okay.
you were definitely meant to hear it, you know?
Exactly right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin. I appreciate you. Everyone out there, take care. Look for your signs. Don't be afraid to ask for the weird thing. Don't be afraid to ask for the big thing. Remember, Pink Lion is
Yeah.
a sign from my father-in-law, and he delivered. He came in a big way. So don't be afraid. Jump into it and start learning your love language with your loved one who's crossed. Take care, everybody. We will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.